Hey guys, it's Cassie aka Cats and Camera, and today I'm doing my September wrap up. But first, 300 subscribers. When did that happen? Definitely just scared my cats with that bang. But it was worth it. So I am going to be doing a special video because of the 300 subscribers. Spoiler alert, it's just about my cats, so it's definitely the content you want. Well, first of all, Emojiathon. That happened and I read loads of books because of it, so yeah. First up I read A Darker Shade of Magic by V. Schwab. This one I've been interested in a long ass time. I finally got around to reading it and I really enjoyed it. Definitely want to pick up the next one soon. In fact, I did actually order the next one, and then a few days later I got an email saying, oh sorry, we didn't actually have any in stock, we were only pretending, so you can't have it, which was annoying. But yes, I should try and get the next one soon and then read it because it was fun. Next I read volume 5 of the Saga Darren Shan manga. Can't really say much because it's volume 5, but this is the manga version of the Saga Darren Shan. It's about Darren Shan who becomes a half vampire and all the trials and tribulations that happen with that. And yeah, I'm enjoying these. They're definitely not as good as the actual books because even though the real books, most of them are under 200 pages each, they are so jam-packed full of stuff that happens, so obviously they can't put all of them in here, but it's still a fun way to remember the series. But I would say read the actual proper series first, not this. Next I read The Red Sheep by Mia Carrick. This one is about a guy who is a bully and then he wakes up one day and all of a sudden he's really nice and he helps out his neighbours and he wants to be all nice and kind to everybody. Obviously his past life of being a bully is there and people know him as that, so he's trying to come to terms with how it used to be and what he feels now. Because he's gay, he knows he has feelings for the guy, and then you figure out sort of stuff that happened between them in the past and why the other guy doesn't like him anymore and actually genuinely hates him. Yeah, I did actually really enjoy this one, so I would definitely recommend. Next up I read Kick-Ass 3 by Mark Miller and John Romero Jr. With this series I would say the first one's the best, the second one is not as good as the first one, but the third one is not as good as the second one. It doesn't get bad, it's just not as good, I guess, the storyline and stuff. But I still enjoyed it, I still really enjoy the characters and the art in here. This is the last volume, so stuff's kind of wrapping up and you don't really know what's going to happen and how they're going to finish it, whether they're going to finish it on a bang, on a high, on a low. So while you're reading it, got them feelings in your head. Next I read Radio Silence by Alice Oseman, and this one I feel like a lot of people know what this book is about, but this is such a fresh breath of fresh air. That's not how you say that, but this is such a breath of fresh air because it's about a girl, it's about a boy, and it's about them becoming friends. Imagine that, a book about two people becoming friends, and it's so nice. And there's a podcast in here which is really cool. I've never listened to a podcast before, but the idea of it sounds really cool, really enjoyable and really diverse and just really nice to read about friendships. Yes. Next I read Letting Go by Alex Hanscombe. This is a book that I won on a Goodreads giveaway last year, I think. I just hadn't got around to reading it. Yeah, this is true crime, real account by Alex, who when he was 3 years old was the only witness to his mum's murder. So yeah, that's pretty heavy, pretty crazy. And yeah, it just goes into his life, when it happened, how he was treated by the police and psychologists and stuff, and then as he gets older. And oh my god, in the media shit. Can we just all agree that journalists are pretty shitty people? I'm sure not all of them, but a lot of them. Him and his dad had to move to different countries several times because the media just wouldn't fucking leave them alone, even though it had been years and years and years since the murder took place. It's just harsh, isn't it? Just let people live, man. So I knew nothing about this. Apparently it was one of the biggest things in England at the time for several years, but obviously it was not at the time when I would be watching TV about murders. Yeah, it's crazy how the police got so many little things niggly wrong. It was like One of Us, just little things that could have happened or could have been looked into that could have prevented a lot of things. So yeah, can't exactly say I enjoy it because it's literally a story about this guy witnessing his mum's murder, but it was very eye-opening, I guess. Next I read Death Note Volume 9. Again, this is one I can't really say much about because it's Volume 9. People know what Death Note is about. It's about a notebook that when you're writing it, you can kill people. And just this series is crazy. So many things happen and it goes in crazy tangents that you wouldn't expect. I've only got 3 more volumes to read after this and then it'll be over, so I wonder how it's going to wrap up. Next up, I read Preacher Volume 2 by Garth Ennis and Stephen Dillon. Within here they have little contained stories. Obviously the overarching arc is the same, but it's cool because each sort of volume in the bigger volume is a little storyline. So this one we get to know a lot more about the past, how Jesse grew up, the crazy ass shit that he went through as he grew up, and then it coming back to bite him on the ass as an adult. But yeah, this is probably more gruesome and more weird and more out there than the last volume, but that's something that I enjoy. Next up, I read The Throne of Fire by Rick Riordan. If you've been here since last year, you will know that the first book in this series was actually my least favourite book of last year. It wasn't the worst one I read, but it came out on top as the least favourite because it's Rick Riordan and it was such a shock that I didn't enjoy it. But I actually enjoyed this one. One thing I don't like about it is the main characters, which is kind of a big deal because they're the main characters, but they were less annoying in this one. Also, the way it's written as if it's already happened and the 2 main characters are recording it on a dictaphone or whatever, telling people what happened. So throughout it, they'll be telling the story and then in brackets it'll be like, shut up Sadie, I'm telling this bit. And it's just kind of annoying and it takes you out of the story. But I felt like it happened less in this book, so it wasn't as jarring and as annoying. In general, I enjoyed this a lot more. I think I gave it 3.4. 3.4, what a weird thing to say. I think I gave it 3.5 stars. One thing that I did feel was a little bit, you know how Rick Riordan doesn't just put romances in straight away? Well, from the first book of this, we already had love interests for both the main characters. And Sadie, the girl main character, it's Sadie and Carter, who are brother and sister. She kind of has 2 love interests now, and it's just really weird because I can't remember exactly, she's either 11 going on 12 or 12 going on 13 because she has her birthday in this. But the 2 love interests, one of them is 16 and it's kind of portrayed as he kind of likes her as well, which is weird. As a 16-year-old you shouldn't like a 12-year-old. And the other one is a god who is however many thousand years old, but his body and how he looks is also about 16 or 17. So it just gives me some weird vibes, you know. I just don't like the fact that she's got 2 love interests and a lot of her parts are her being jealous or her talking about liking both of these guys. And I'm like, first of all, no, because I like the fact that Rick Riordan's books don't have loads of romance in and it's kind of something that's woven towards the end of the series, if necessary. But it's also just weird because of how young she is and I don't like it. So I read The History of Us by Naire Dawn. I liked it was a bit different. This one, the main character was out. It's a book about a gay character. He was out, all his friends and family, but he had this sort of internalized homophobia where he's out, but he also doesn't have a boyfriend or doesn't know how to flirt with guys, and when a guy starts flirting with him, it freaks him out and he doesn't want his friends to see him, even though they know he's gay. So I liked that whole aspect of, even though you're out, it doesn't mean you accept yourself yet. And the main arc of this story is him and this other guy go on a road trip where they go and interview loads of LGBT people who have different walks of life and different experiences and stuff. It's really eye-opening for the main character, trying to learn to accept himself and stuff. And there's a bit of a romance building between him and the other guy who's on this trip. And we just see loads of different people. We see same-sex parents that have a kid and how they figure it out. We see a character who lost somebody to AIDS in the 80s. We see a college guy who plays sport and is not out to anybody because it will ruin his career. And yeah, it's just really cool to see all these different aspects. Next up, I read Heavyweight by M.B. Mulhall. This is about a guy who is in the wrestling team and he's gay, but he also has an eating disorder because he wants to be at the top of his weight class, but obviously not go over that, otherwise he'll be the lowest of the next weight class. And because of that, he does have issues with his eating. He does binge and purge, and there is scenes of him being sick and stuff, so if that's a trigger then obviously maybe not the best book for you. But it is really interesting to see it from the point of view of a male character, because a lot of the time with these sort of stories it's told where it's a girl that has an eating disorder rather than a boy. And we also have a love interest in here, a new guy that comes to school who is an Asian emo, so that's nice because you don't really see very many Asian emo love interests. And also he has a sister, and it's so nice because there's none of this fake relationship with the sister to get to the brother, which I feel like a lot of people would have done in this story. Next up, I finally read Every Day by David Levithan. I've had this for ages and I did enjoy it. I liked the sort of going into different people's body aspects more than the love interest aspect. Basically, the main character is called A, and every day they wake up in a different body of somebody the same age as them. A falls in love with this girl, and it's about A trying to figure out whether they can be in love with them being in a different body every time and looking different, whether it's more than skin deep, and it's about who you are inside, I guess. I enjoyed the aspect of living in somebody else's body a bit more than the romancy bit, just because I felt it was so unlikely that you'd be in one person's body for one day and suddenly fall in love with their girlfriend and then want to constantly go back and see them after you've been jumping into people's bodies your whole life for 16 years. Yeah, the bit that I found the most interesting was all these different people's life, where you saw just a day in their life, whether it be somebody with depression or somebody who feels like they want to hurt themselves, to somebody that has everything they want and they're popular and pretty, to somebody who is an illegal immigrant who isn't at school at 16 but is working, going around cleaning because that's all they can do. I thought that was the most interesting part of this book. I was getting towards the end, there was hardly any left, and I was like, how is this going to wrap up, because I feel like it could just go on forever. But it did seem like the logical way to go wrap up, but they did leave loads of little bits open-ended. Next I read a couple of the Baying Chronicles by Cassandra Clare and some other people. So I only read 2 of these, but I'm going to count it because one of these was for read something under 100 pages, so I'm putting it in here just to prove that I did it. But I'm not really counting this as read because I'm not really a massive fan of short stories. They were alright. And last but not least, I read The Rara Expedition by Tor Heyerdahl. This is a non-fiction. Yes, I read 2 non-fictions in 1 month, imagine that. He built a boat out of papyrus reeds and sailed it across the ocean to see if in ancient Egypt they could have gone across to different countries and spread their religion and spread their techniques and stuff, and it's just really interesting. This is the same guy that did the Kon-Tiki expedition, where he built a balsa raft to sort of prove the migration theory of people from different countries going out into the islands, and it's just really interesting. So yeah, that is what I read in September. Didn't read all of my TBR because my TBR was stupidly massive and I didn't expect to anyway. I read most of it, so that's always a bonus. So let me know down below what you read in September, or if you've read any of these or now feel like you want to read them because they sound interesting, let me know. If this is your first video by me and you enjoy it, then please check out some of my others. And if you continue to enjoy them, then please subscribe, that'd be awesome. Anyway guys, I'll see you in a few days with another video. Bye.